Hello dear children, welcome back to your English class. Children, today we are going to do chapter number 12 of our course book and the name of the chapter is The Sword of King Arthur. Okay? Yes, you must have heard stories about famous kings, right? The story which we are going to read today is about a British king who ruled over England about 2000 years ago. Okay, children. So before starting the chapter, let us learn some new words and their meanings first. Number one is disguised. Disguised means changed one's appearance so that no one could recognize them. किसी की appearance change कर देना ताकि उन्हें कोई recognize ना कर सके. Then knight. Knight means a man with high rank in the past who was trained to fight while riding a horse. Then squire. Squire means a knight's attendant. एक knight का जो attendant हो. Then successor. Successor means a person who follows next in order. Disorder. Disorder means a state of confusion and unrest. Inn means a small hotel. Then hilt. Hilt means the handle of a sword. Number 8, sternly. Sternly means strictly. Then budge. Budge means move very slightly. Number 10, splendid. Splendid means grand, big, right? There are 6 characters in this story. Number 1 is King Uther Pendragon. He was the king who ruled over Britain many years ago. King Uther Pendragon. Then Igraine. Who was Igraine? Wife of King Uther. Okay. Then Arthur. Arthur was the son of King Uther and his wife Igraine. Clear? Then Merlin. Who was Merlin? Merlin was the court magician. Okay. Then Sir Ector. Sir Ector was one of the knights of the court. Knight. Clear, children? Kay was the son of Sir Ector. Okay. Then Sir Pellinore. Sir Pellinore was one of Sir Ector's friend. He was a friend of Sir Ector. Okay, children?
Children, let's read the story. Many years ago, King Uther Pendragon ruled over Britain. He and his wife Igraine had a son whom they named Arthur. Uther had many enemies, so he wanted to keep the birth of Arthur a secret. So Uther handed Arthur over to Merlin, the court magician. Disguised as a beggar, Merlin took the child to Sir Ector, one of the knights of the court, but did not tell him who the child was. So, children, what we have read, King Uther and his wife had a son named Arthur, right? The king had many enemies and he wanted to save his child from his enemies. Therefore, he kept the birth of Arthur a secret and handed over his child to Merlin. Who was Merlin? Merlin was the court magician. Then Merlin changed his appearance into a beggar and took the child to Sir Ector. Sir Ector was one of the knights. Okay. He handed over the child to him without telling who the child was. Children, it means किंग ने अपने सन को मर्लिन को हैंड ओवर कर दिया. वाई? बिकॉज उसके बहुत से एनिमीज थे और वो चाहता था कि उसका सन सेफ रहे. राइट? आफ्टर दैट मर्लिन ने आर्थर को सर एक्टर को दे दिया. सर एक्टर कौन है? नाइट है. राइट? Sir Ector had a son named Kay, who was a little older than Arthur. The two boys grew up together. Kay was trained to be a knight, while Arthur was to be a squire. Each knight had a squire of his own. Children, Sir Ector also had a son whose name was Kay, right? Who was little older than Arthur, जो कि Arthur से कुछ ही बड़ा था. राइट? देन के एंड आर्थर ग्रीव अप टुगेदर. वो एक साथ बड़े हुए. के को किस चीज की ट्रेनिंग दी गई थी? नाइट बनने की, एंड ऑर्थर को स्क्वायर बनने की, क्योंकि हर नाइट का एक स्क्वायर होता है, एक अटेंडेंट होता है, राइट? Meanwhile, King Uther Pendragon died. Since the king did not have any known successor, the lords and small rulers fought wars. The country was soon in a state of disorder. Children, the king was died and he did not have any successor. सक्सेसर मीन्स उसका कोई यंग वन नहीं था जो उसकी डेथ के बाद किंग बन सके, राइट? बिकॉज द बर्थ ऑफ ऑर्थर वॉज अ सीक्रेट, nobody knew about him, and then without the king the country was in the state of disorder. The lords means rich men who give advice to the king, and the lords and small rulers started fighting. The situation of the country was unmanageable. Merlin had a plan. He cast a spell on a sword and set it into a large block of stone. Written on the blade of the sword were the words, "Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone is rightwise king born of all England." Children, only Merlin knew about Arthur. He had a plan. He took a sword and cast a spell means use some magic on it. Then he put the sword in a large stone. मर्लिन ने एक स्वॉर्ड ली, उस पर एक मैजिक यूज किया और उसने उस स्वॉर्ड को कहाँ पुट किया? एक लार्ज से स्टोन में, राइट? एंड देयर वर सम वर्ड्स रिटन ऑन द ब्लेड ऑफ द स्वॉर्ड. What were the words? The words were, one who could successfully pull out the sword would be the king of England. The sword was made to appear in a small church just outside London. Then Merlin invited all the lords and knights to a jousting tournament in London. At the tournament, all the knights would show how good they are at fighting. They would also get the chance to pull out the sword from the stone. The one who could successfully pull out the sword would be crowned the King of England. Children, the sword was kept in a small church. Children, what is jousting tournament? It is a contest in which two knights fight on a horseback and try to unhorse each other with long blunted weapons. ये एक टाइप का कॉन्टेस्ट होता है जिसमें टू नाइट्स फाइट करते हैं वाइल राइडिंग अ हॉर्स राइड करते हुए, एंड दे ट्राई टू अनहॉर्स ईच अदर विद वेपन्स. ओके, so Merlin announced a jousting tournament in London and invited all the lords and knights. And at that tournament, all the new knights would get a chance to show their power, their bravery in fighting. Also, they would get a chance to pull out the sword from the stone. न्यू नाइट्स को चांस मिलेगा कि वो अपनी पावर शो करके उस स्टोन में से स्वॉर्ड को बाहर निकाल सके. एंड द वन हु कुड सक्सेसफुली पुल आउट द स्वॉर्ड, और वो जो कि सक्सेसफुली स्वॉर्ड को स्टोन में से बाहर निकाल लेगा, ही वुड बी द किंग ऑफ इंग्लैंड. राइट चिल्ड्रन? One day, Sir Pellinore, one of Sir Ector's friends, arrived with the news of the jousting tournament in London. He also told Sir Ector about the strange sword that had suddenly appeared. Kay wished to go to the tournament. So, Sir Ector, Sir Pellinore, Kay and Arthur set off for London. Children, Sir Pellinore, who was the friend of Sir Ector. After listening, Kay wished to participate in the tournament. So, therefore, Sir Ector, Sir Pellinore, Kay and Arthur went to London for the contest. The group soon reached an inn just outside London. Inn means a small hotel. वो सब एक स्मॉल होटल में पहुँचे. इट वॉज ऑलमोस्ट डार्क, सो दे डिसाइडेड टू स्टे देयर फॉर नाइट. और उन्होंने नाइट वहाँ स्टे करने के लिए डिसाइड किया बिकॉज इट वॉज वेरी डार्क. नेक्स्ट डे दे सेट ऑफ द टूर्नामेंट ग्राउंड्स. नेक्स्ट डे वो कहाँ गए? जहाँ टूर्नामेंट होना था. जस्ट एज दे हैड रीच्ड द ग्राउंड्स, के एक्सक्लेम्ड, ओह ओह, I've left my sword behind. Arthur Please go back to the inn and bring it. Means when they reached the ground, Kay remembered that he had forgot his sword behind. वो अपनी जो sword है वो पीछे छोड़ आया है. Then he requested Arthur to go back and bring the sword. On his way back to the inn, Arthur passed the church and saw the gleaming sword protruding from the stone. This should do for Kay, he thought, and he dismounted his horse and pulled the sword free. Then he rushed back to the tournament grounds. Means when Arthur was going back to the inn to bring the sword. On his way, he passed the church where the sword was kept, right? And Arthur saw the gleaming sword, means shining sword, that was fixed in the stone, right? And then he thought that the sword will be right for Kay. Dismounted means get down. He get down from his horse and pulled the sword free. Then he rushed back. Then he went back to the tournament grounds. मीन्स जब ओथर ने उस स्वॉर्ड को देखा तो उसने सोचा कि ये स्वॉर्ड के लिए सही रहेगी. देन इजीली उसने क्या किया, ही पुल्ड आउट द स्वॉर्ड फ्रॉम द स्टोन एंड वेंट बैक टू द टूर्नामेंट ग्राउंड्स विद द स्वॉर्ड. Kay received the sword with joy. It was very beautiful. Its hilt was made with gold and gems, and there was something written on it. Kay read the writing and then called out to Sir Ector, "Father, do you remember the sword Sir Pellinore told us about? Only the King of England could pull it out. Here it is. I pulled it out. I am the next king. It is written on the sword." Children, when Kay saw the sword, he became very happy because it was very beautiful and its handle was made up of gold and gems and there was something written on it. Yeah, right? And when he read the words, means जब उसने वो words read किए तो उसने अपने फादर को बुलाया और कहा कि फादर, क्या आपको याद है सर पेलिनोर ने हमें एक स्वॉर्ड के बारे में बताया था जिस पर ये रिटन था कि ओनली द किंग ऑफ इंग्लैंड कुड पुल इट आउट, कि उसे सिर्फ जो इंग्लैंड का किंग होगा वो ही उस स्टोन से बाहर निकाल सकेगा. हेयर इट इज़, बोलता है कि देखो ये स्वॉर्ड मेरे पास है. आई पुल्ड इट आउट, मैंने इसे बाहर निकाल लिया है. नाउ आई विल बी द नेक्स्ट किंग, ही सेड. Sir Ector came up to Kay and looked sternly at him. "Did you really pull it out?" he asked. "Yes," said Kay. I, and then he hung his head in shame. "No, father," he whispered. "Arthur pulled it out." And when his father asked him strictly कि क्या सच में तुमने ये स्वॉर्ड जो है बाहर निकाली है, then he felt ashamed and he said, "No, father, Arthur pulled it out." ये sword Arthur ने बाहर निकाली है. Sir Ector and Kay went back with Arthur to the church and Sir Ector pushed the sword back into the stone. Then they went back to the church जहाँ वो sword रखी हुई थी and Sir Ector ने क्या किया, फिर से उस sword को वहाँ put कर दिया उस stone में. Then Kay and Sir Ector tried to pull it out, but it would not budge. Arthur, however, pulled it out very easily. Sir Ector kept putting it back, and Arthur kept pulling it out as easily as if the stone was made of butter. Children, now where is the sword? It is again in the stone because Sir Ector put it in the stone. Now Sir Ector and Kay tried to pull it out but they were failed. Budge means कि उस sword ने slightly भी move नहीं किया जब Sir Ector और Kay ने उसे बाहर निकालने के लिए try किया. After that, again and again, Sir Ector kept putting it back into the stone and Arthur kept pulling it out as easily. Arthur उस sword को इतना easily बाहर निकाल रहा था as the stone was made of butter. जैसे कि stone जो था वो butter का बना हुआ हो. He was doing it so easily. It was clear that Arthur was the new king. He was crowned in a splendid ceremony. This is how King Arthur came to the throne of England. Children, in this way, Arthur became the king of England. He was crowned in a grand ceremony. Arthur became a powerful king. He defeated his enemies and united the country. He gathered a group of knights who were noted for their courage and purity of behavior. They promised to be just, truthful, and faithful and to protect all those who needed help. They were called the Knights of the Round Table. Children, Arthur became a powerful king. He defeated his enemies and he made a group of knights. Means he selected some knights who were courageous and faithful. These knights promised to protect the people who needed help. And these knights were called the Knights of the Round Table. इन knights को क्या बोला जाता था? Knights of the Round Table.
So children, this was all about the story. I hope you all have enjoyed as well as understood the story very well. Now do the given book work and notebook work in neat and clean handwriting. Okay?